Hey guys, this is Mac Nugget from Amaterasu Pools. We actually decided to film a deck check because we hadn't filmed in a while, so this is my new deck. It's Narukami, and yeah, it's the original type of Narukami. I will get to it when it comes. So, starter Vanguard is Lizard Soldier Saishin. He's the 5k starter for Narukami. He's the best in this particular build.
Oh man.
Because it's not 4k, it's 5k, and it doesn't have to search for grade 3s, and I think you probably know why now, because I just revealed it. Yeah. Standard trigger lineup, 4 heals, 4 draws, and then 8 crits. Might put draws up to 6 because of the set 8 expansion, but I could just leave it as it is, because it seems to be working pretty fine by me. Grade 1s, we've got 4 AK vanillas. It's really good, as we'll get to later, because it helps me hit the perfect numbers with my rear guards, and occasionally, if I don't have the right booster for my Vanguard, it will help my Vanguard hit for perfect numbers as well. Next we got 4 Wyvern Guard Golds. It's good because I run a lot of grade 3s, and yeah, I can just get rid of them out of my hand instead of having dead cards. I then run 3 Thunder of Hope Helena, also to help cycle out grade 3s and cards that I don't need anymore, such as this card if I already have one. Rapid Fire Wyvern. So it's the most consistent 10k booster I've ever seen. Dorothea and this are the best 10k boosters in my opinion, because you're always going to have the 10k boost because of if your opponent's on 3 damage or more, which is really good, because it pluses you when they're on limit break, and it just gives them a lot more to guard against. Grade 2s are on 4 Dragonic Death Scythes, because there's really no standout amazing grade 2s for Narukami, so this card's one of the best, so it just takes out a unit for 2 counterballs. Honestly, best like grade 2 idea, like, because it's a direct Berserk Dragon Clone. It's good in Kagero, it's good in Narukami. Then I run 4 10k vanillas because, as I said, there's not many good grade 2s. It's the next best thing. It's also very good at swinging for the 18ks against crossrides, if you're boosting it with its brother. Then you got 3 Shidens, because Shiden wins games. No, I'm just kidding. Shiden's just like the shiniest grade 2 I could find, and it's kind of it's good, but it's not the best. Then now for the grade 3s, you got not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Rumblegun Dragons. It's the Goku of Narukami. It is really good, but when you don't trigger grade 3s, you ride its friend, Vermilion, because Vermilion is really good, and it's 11k. Its limit break is pretty devastating, but the deck is not based around him, so you're not always going to get him on the field. Next you run 2 Breakthrough Dragons. I'm going to be exchanging this with the other grade 3 that's coming out as a promo. Can't remember his name, but when it's in the rearguard circle and you ride a grade 3, it gains 10,000 power, and that's really good. But at the moment, this is what I'm running because it can help me hit perfect numbers against Azels and like all the gold paladin stuff except for Spectral Duke. Otherwise, it's just a really good card because having 20k columns is always a good thing, especially on final turn. And 1 Demonic Sealed Dragon Dungari. It looks awesome. It's arguably better than Thunderbreak Dragon. I'm not going to start a contest because I think they're both really good. Because, but this, alright, there's the pros and cons to this card. This card can only take out front row, which is a con. It's 11k, which is a pro. It's a limit break effect, which is a con-ish, arguably, and but it only costs counterblast 1, which is a pro. Whereas Thunderbreak has the plus 5k for the limit break, which is, well, one of the better limit breaks. Better offensive limit breaks. This is more of a defensive card compared to it. And it costs counterblast 2 to retire any unit. It's a Berserk Dragon grade 3 that can retire a grade 3s instead. But this card just looks cooler, and I prefer to run it because it's worth about $2. So main plays for the deck is having your Rumble Gun, and then trigger checking your grade 3 because you're good at this game, and then winning. So yeah, it's pretty much, this deck is basically a control deck. Your opponent shouldn't have too much more field than you, and if they do, they're probably in the position to win the game anyway. Controlling the field is what this deck does best. Having complete control over your opponent's board makes it a lot easier to combat, and like just overall disrupt your opponent's strategies. Like having this in your Vanguard circle and then limit breaking, it's just completely ruining their front row, which is mostly what this deck does. Like most of the cards retire front row instead of back row, but the main card is supposed to retire back row, so that's the whole point there. If you're strapped for grade 1s, you're always taking out your opponent's grade 1s as well, so it's not like you both have either an advantage. And even when you do get like a grade 1 like later, you'll have the grade 1, but your opponent still won't, because you're always constantly like guarding for less and less, so you build up your hand because your opponent won't have much more field to guard to have on, like, for pressuring you. Changes I will maybe make to the deck when that new promo comes out to better fit this deck. I'll be taking out these two for the new promo because it is really, really good. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the trigger lineup because it's the new promo. It synergizes really well with stand triggers because swinging for 25k unboosted is really good. Like, and since you're constantly rewriting grade 3s with Dungari, Vermilion, and even after you've like ridden those, if they've refrained from calling grade 1s, you can just ride Rumblegun right back over it and start the pressure anew. So I might add in stands because I've tested stands before in a full Vermilion build, and it wasn't the best idea. I was just trying them. Like, I didn't end up going through with that Vermilion build because that was right when Set 6 was released. If you remember the video where we were having a Grand Blue versus the Dark Cats Kinder Surprise, I had the Narukami deck, and it wasn't in a game or anything. It wasn't an official deck yet, so I really hadn't tested it extensively. I played it and I thought it was good, but otherwise it was pretty standard for a Narukami deck, as it should be for back then. But now, since we got all these new toys like Dungari, which is the best of the new toys apart from the draw trigger, the damage takers, like the core counterblast 1 take a damage, I don't like them. They're 8k. They're targets for Dragonic Overlord at the end, and you are going to see Dragonic Overlord at the end. I don't care if people aren't running them at your locals. They will when you're playing nationals, when you're nationals or regionals, because it's just going to be a given because it's a broken card and it's a ridiculously good deck. Overall, I'd rate the deck really highly. This deck is like the trump card to Gold Paladins, because you can control their board even though they're calling more. Like I versed the Bonnie deck with this deck. This guy is a star player in that matchup, taking out their Spring Breeze messengers. Also, this card is amazing for taking out Spring Breeze messengers, Conros, Wingle Braves, Kiriths, and any other good starting Vanguard, like Mecha Trainer maybe. This card is just really good for stopping your opponent from getting off their plays with their starter. He's just the biggest disruption in this deck that I can have. Like, if you're playing against Shadow Paladin, this guy is really bad because of if you put it behind your Vanguard. If you put it behind your Vanguard, it's going to be like it's going to be sitting there. It's going to be 5k, and an opponent's Shadow Paladin player is more than likely not to call the Grade 0 unless they're playing the Doombringer. No, it's not Doombringer Griffin. It's something to do with demons. But yeah, Phantombringer Demon. That's the one. But they're more than likely going to get rid of that the turn they call it, rather than have it on the field because it's only 4k. So this guy's not going to be much use in a Shadow Paladin matchup. So you're obviously going to know if they're playing Shadow Paladins or not. So you call this out to the rear guard out here, and you can still make usable columns. Like you can have 15k columns, which is pretty beefy against 10k vanguards, and then you can have, if you don't ride Dungari or Vermilion, you can have them out here, and they can just sit there, because then you can make 16k. Also 17 with the other guy, but you're not going to run the other guy anymore. So that's pretty much the deck. As I said, I rate it highly. It's a really good deck. The idea behind it is pretty much based off Goku, but it's got more Narukami tendencies because it takes out your opponent's front row, so you have to lessen your guard really quickly. Like, lessen the amount of guard that you need to give, like, faster. So you don't have to be dropping large hand sizes to stop, like, a whole field of attacks, where you can just guard with 5Ks and everything to stop most of their bigger attacks, in a sense, because this deck just whittles them down so well. 9 out of 10 for control, because Kagura's got that perfect 10 out of 10 because they have all of the Kimnaras and like Heat Nails, Salamanders and stuff that are really good with control. 8 out of 10 for aggressiveness, because if your opponent doesn't have a field, they're more than likely not to have the hand as well. Because you're taking out the field, that means you're taking out the hand in a way, because they have to drop more hand to commit to the field. And if you're just taking that out with Death Scythes, Rumble Guns, and Scission, Vermilion, yeah, you got a lot of control options. So if you're taking all that out with these cards, you can really disrupt your opponent's overall play of the deck and make sure you have control of the game. So it's an 8 out of 10 for aggressiveness, because like sometimes it might not be aggressive, sometimes it will be. 8 out of 10 is still pretty good, because obviously the most aggressive deck, Spike Brothers, it's called the aggressive deck, but any deck can really be aggressive. For defense, give it 7, because you got 2 11k vanguards, but most of the time people are going to be like hitting for perfect 16ks, unless they've, well, obviously going to disrupt their board in this deck, unless they're going to be not really smart, because you're always supposed to play around 11k vanguards, because they can show up at any time. Key example, Vermilion, and Spectral Duke. So there's quite a few decks. This is by far not the most defensive deck, because Draconic Overlord at the end holds that. This is sort of dragging on, so I might finish it up really quick. But
as you're going to finish up, I just have a couple of questions. This is Dark Cat here. You run 9 grade 3s. Is that ever too many for you?
You got 4 Null Guards, you got 3 ammos. What more do you want?
Will it ever clog up, or have you always got control over?
You've always got control over the grade 3s, because keeping a Null Guard in your hand is pretty much a given thing to do in case they try to beef up their Vanguard really high. And you're always rewriting, so that helps get rid of the excess grade 3s while still killing your opponent's field. Like, you're obviously going to rewrite Vermilion if you get it, if you have the 3 counterboss still open. Besides that, or it's an 11k rearguard. You got to look at all of the bonuses in grade 3s. Like, Rumblegun himself, you can easy discard fodder for ammo or the Null Guards. Vermilion, secondary discard fodder if you don't have the grade 3 counterboss open. Dungari, you're not always going to get him because he's only a one-off, because you can't use him twice because he comes in 9k, and that's terrible. But if you get him out, you can call him as rearguard, you can discard him, you can do whatever you want with him. You can ride him. He's just one of the most versatile cards in this deck. And Breakthrough, if you got a good field set up and your opponent can't really guard much, dropping him is always a bonus, especially with an AK.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah, every card in this deck is here for a reason.
But on the subject of rewriting, it seems that you don't just, unlike Goku decks, you don't stick to your Rumble Gun Dragon. Will you rewrite often, or will you stick with your Rumble Gun Dragon?
You stick with your Rumble Gun.
Get the most out of it, and then drop a Vermilion or something, or do you want to drop a Vermilion if you really have to?
If you've gone through 4 Grade 3s in the deck and you've got Rumble Gun and Dragon as your Vanguard, you're obviously going to rewrite because the chances of hitting into the last, like, hitting in like. If you've gone through 4 Grade 3s while still having him as your Vanguard, you're not going to hit the last 4. You've got to think of it logically, like taking out their field, like taking out their front row, reducing their attacks, like narrowing down the amount of control they sort of have over their board is more important than you having a 10k Vanguard that's easy target. Like, if they can easily set up 15k columns, like 15k is pretty much the easiest number to reach in this game. So, having him completely stops that. You can go up 5Ks. And you can ruin their field with Vermilion. Vermilion is quite possibly the best card in Narukami. But having a whole deck based around him, I don't like that idea. I like the idea of how good he is, but because it's counterbalance 3, it's a bit too expensive to have a whole deck based around him. And having him there is just so good. Rumble Gun is just so good in himself because he's Goku.
Would you ever run less than 4?
Rumble Guns?
Yeah.
No. You're always going to ride Rumble Gun first.
You always want to run...
No matter what, he is the first ride. It doesn't matter if you have Vermilion in your hand already. It's like, oh, but Vermilion's really good. No, Rumble Gun's better. Especially right at the start, because your opponent's going to be trying to commit to the board to try and push more damage. And then, after you've Rumble Gunned and you've tried to get rid of their field, ride him, and you destroy their field. It's really the ideal final turn. Really good late game, and semi-good mid-game. Early game, they're not going to have enough on the board to get rid of, so... and having Limited Break 4 Counterbalance 3, really, not going to happen. So, yeah, all of the Grade 3s are there for a reason, and the 4 Rumble Guns would not change in a million years. So, the deck overall, as I said, really solid. There's not much I'd change in it except for maybe the triggers later, and maybe, well, so not maybe, obviously going to put in the new promo. And yep, that's the deck. So Narukami, underlooked clan, but alright, I'm gonna tell you a story from Nationals. I saw more Narukami, English Nationals. This is English Nationals for Melbourne,
which we didn't
in Australia,
get to film.
Which we didn't get to film because
we apologise.
We apologise. But then again, I don't really care about English. Jokes. English is good. But in the whole tournament, I saw more Narukami decks than I did Gold Paladin decks. I know that sounds crazy, but more Narukami than Gold Paladin. Think about it. What would you prefer? A deck that sacks, that like, it has to sack their way to win, like luck sack, everything? Or would you rather a deck that requires at least an amount of skill to play, and, well, in the case of Vermilion, it's very meh. In Indra, you have to have skill, and even though the person who won was playing... What was he playing?
Vermilion.
He was playing Vermilion?
Vermilion Thunderbreath.
Yep, so yeah, that's what I thought, Vermilion. So yeah, Narukami won Nationals for English, and the runner-up played with Tsukiyomi. So...
Yeah, Tsukiyomi. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, having more Narukami decks is Narukami becoming popular is a real good thing, because
although the support in set 8 was
abysmal. I hated it.
Some were like much different, but it's very interesting, and I think this type of Narukami deck can be quite devastating.
It's crazy against Gold Paladins, which is exactly what I need if I'm going to see too many of them. Also, I'm going to America, yay! So I get to come down to see everyone in LA, if you live in that region, because I'm going to try and visit the most of the card shops I can. And like try and meet as much of the American Card 5 Vanguard community as I can. Even though I don't think there's many Americans subscribed to us, seeing as we're mostly Japanese oriented. channel, and I know Americans mostly play English format. It would still be nice to talk to you guys and see what the meta is over there.
Yeah. Post below so you can meet and challenge him.
Yeah, because I'll be in LA for a couple days.
He'll destroy you all.
No, I won't. I'll be in LA for a couple days. I will be in San Diego for a couple days. I don't think there's anything in San Diego. I'm not sure. You got to tell me if there is, because I'm not really sure where the stores are. And I really don't know where else I'm going because I didn't pay attention. But I know I'm going to LA, and I know there's card shops there, so I'll be sure to see if you guys are there, and I will challenge you with probably this deck, or maybe the Aquaforce deck that I'm making. Ooh, hint hint, new Aquaforce deck. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and peace out.